Hello and welcome to this webinar on how to build a hypnotherapy mixer. I'm Lawrence Akers. I'm the owner of Release Hypnosis. I'm one of the co-partners in Hypnotherapy HQ here in Melbourne, and one of the workshops that I run frequently is the Recording for Hypnotherapists workshop. And that largely came from when I was studying hypnotherapy. I noticed that a lot of the therapists were quite technical-phobic, and I wasn't quite sure why that was. And I really wanted to put together a workshop that could teach people how to use the equipment they already have to get really good quality recordings. And so I've run about 9 now, which is great. And I've been getting really good feedback about them, which is even better. One of the questions that I have often been asked in those workshops is if I knew of any contraption out there that a hypnotherapist could use in session with their client, where they could wear a headset, much like this one, with headphones and a microphone. Their client could wear the same. They could communicate to each other via that, but also play some background sound, whether it be background music or binaural beats or a soundscape. And at the time I didn't know. I thought it would be easy, and it actually proved to be surprisingly harder than what I thought, which surprised me enormously. But in the end I managed to figure something out, which is really what the webinar is about today. Now, before I go any further, I will say that if you email me on Lawrence, Lawrence, at releasehypnosis.com.au, I will email you back a PDF that has in it all the details about what you need, how to put it together, how you can use it. So please make sure you send me that email, and I'll get that back to you. Now, what is a hypnotherapy mixer? And I really couldn't think of any other term to really try to put to this. But essentially, it is an audio device that you can set up in your rooms. As I mentioned, you wear a headset like this. Your client also wears a similar headset, so you can communicate freely with each other. You can choose what background music to play, which is great. Why would you want something like this? Well, if I talk about my own practice, the rooms can be quite noisy. We've got businesses either side. You can hear people walking in the corridor. It can be quite distracting. And so it helps to get rid of that background noise, but also helps for the client to focus, because you don't want them being consciously distracted by any of that background noise. You can obviously utilize that background noise and say that any of that noise will help you to go deeper and deeper. But if the noise is quite loud and severe, it will be something that may make your client consciously pick that up. And so this really helps to reduce that issue. It also, I think it adds something a bit special to the session as well. Your client comes along and they end up having this experience where there's sound, and it becomes a bit of a multimedia event for them. Event makes it sound a little bit grandiose, doesn't it? But it's something a little bit different there. I have read people who say that they use a setup and that it helps their voice over the course of the day if they're doing back-to-back sessions. And because this is a USB mix that we're working with today, you can record your sessions back to computer too, so it might help if you're keen to do that. Now, alternatives, there are several alternatives out there on the market. If you do a Google search, you'll find that there is a UK company that produced something called a Hypnocom. And look, these are great devices. They are sturdy built devices. They've had a lot of energy put into manufacturing them. They do come with a premium price tag, though, as you can imagine. You should expect to pay a minimum about $500 Australian for those sort of devices. Part of the brief that I gave myself when I was researching this was to do something that was going to be really inexpensive, useful but inexpensive, so it wouldn't break the bank, so that anyone could potentially afford to do this and to benefit from it. Will the quality vary? Look, that is a possibility, but the reality is that it's still going to block out background noise. It's still going to give your client a different experience. So there are some benefits there. So let's have a chat about what you'll need to do all this. The first thing is a USB mixer, and the one that I'm going to recommend today is the Zenex 302 USB by a German company called Beringer. If you see the price tag there, you can see that it's about Australian $95. which isn't too bad. If you look online, I think you'll find them for around that plus shipping costs as well. And it's a great little sturdy built mixer, which is fantastic. You're also going to need 2 of these 3.5 millimeter male to female line splitters, so 1 male, 2 female line splitters. And you're also going to need 2 headsets. So the one I got was a Verbatim Urban Headgear. This was about $12 at Officeworks. These are about $9 each at Officeworks. So when you tally that all up in terms of the parts there, that comes to around $150. On top of that, I also am using my laptop here to play the music on and potentially record too. So that obviously isn't included in that $150. Hopefully most people have a laptop. You can also use a desktop PC if you wanted. If you don't have a laptop, then you are going to need to connect up an external device to play music if you want to do that. And in this day of smartphones, you can easily use your smartphone. Just need to connect it up with a relevant cable and make sure it's put into flight mode so that you don't distract or it doesn't have anything come through that might distract the session as well. On your laptop, you may also want to Google and install a piece of software called Audacity. Now, this is an audio workstation. It is absolutely free. In fact, it's one of the main pieces of software that I utilize in my recording for Hypnotherapist workshop. Brilliant piece of software for free. Actually got a lot of really good features on it. Now, obviously I've been focusing on cost here. The reality is, if you want to spend a little bit more money, probably where I would do that is in your headsets. You can get ones that are going to have a better microphone or be more noise cancelling. The only thing that I do say is that if you do get better headsets, you need to make sure that your headsets have these plugs here. So your pink one for your microphone, green one for your headphone. And that's simply due to the way that this setup is set up. You can also look on eBay if you wanted. A lot of this stuff you might find at a far more cost-efficient price there. But realistically, $12 for headsets and $9 for the splitters is not that bad. So why did I choose this mixer? What were the trial and errors that I mentioned earlier? So look, the reality is that this mixer here makes connecting up these headsets so much easier, because the majority of mixers out there in the microphone port use either an XLR or a quarter jack connection, which these are not. And if we try to plug these in, they don't have the power in those inputs in order to power up these properly, so they just won't work. If you do get another mixer that does have the XLR or quarter jack, you can use it, but you're going to probably have to use a handheld microphone. And obviously, because of that, you're probably not going to have your client mic'd up as well. Some people have asked about wireless headsets. Look, if you are going to go wireless, you could connect up a transmitter. However, you'd want to make sure it's a decent transmitter, because the inexpensive ones have the habit of dropping out or getting interference, and I can imagine that if you get that during a session, it would be a real distraction and a real disadvantage. Not to mention causing you to consciously freak out, which is definitely going to interrupt the flow. The safest bet, which also happens to be the easiest and most cost effective, is to do wired headsets. So here we go, connecting it all up. The Zen X302, it's a little cutie. It's a nice size. It's not too big there. So this should be able to sit on most people's desks quite easily. So what you are going to want to do is to get your 2 line splitters, and you'll see up in the top corner there that you have the headphone and the microphone plugs. So plug a splitter into one of each. Now, I will say that when I spoke to a lot of audio professionals out there regarding this, they said that you could split the headphones fine, but you wouldn't be able to split the microphone. And I've done some research and thought this seems odd. I've seen too many people that have done that. And so when I tried, it actually worked. So there will be people say, no, that shouldn't work, but it actually did. Not sure why I told that story, bit of rambling there anyway. So once you've connected up your splitters, get your headphones, and you'll notice that you have your pink microphone and your green headphone. So take your top splitter, which is connected to microphone, and plug a microphone in there, and then take your bottom splitter, which is the headphones, and plug it into that. So it effectively looks like that. Okay. Now take your second headset and plug again your microphone into the second top splitter option, and your headphones into the bottom second split. Now we haven't got power into this yet, obviously, but I'd make sure you turn all of your dials down. The last thing you want to do is have any loudness coming through when you do connect it. In your box, there'll come a USB cable. I'm just going to place my box down on the ground there. Get one end and plug that into the back of your USB mixer. Take the other end and plug it into your USB port on your laptop. And you'll see straight away that the little light comes on to say that there is power. Now, on your laptop, open Audacity, and up in the top hand corner here where you have the microphone and the speaker input, choose the pull down option and select the USB audio device. Do it on that one there, and over here on the speaker one as well. And what that will now do is tell Audacity on your Mac that it is to communicate with that external device, so that if you record, it will pick up the microphones from the headsets. So now this is all set up, now it's time to actually tweak the options that are there. So what you want to do is, you have here the line-USB. So this part is going to tell the mixer what information it's going to get from the computer. So there's a red button marked from. Make sure that is pressed down into USB play mode. So what that's telling the mixer is that it's to take information from whatever the USB is connected to, which is the computer. And then there's the button next to that is to. So where is this going to? And you want to make sure that it's pressed down to phones. So with this setup, we won't be using the main mix because that would be used to go to external speakers, but we are using the phones as a means of controlling the volume. So once you have done that, firstly, put on a pair of your headsets, of course. Make sure your other headset is at the distance away of what your client is going to be. Why? Because if they're next to each other, you're going to get feedback, aren't you? Next thing you want to do is to turn up the volume on your phones, which is over here underneath the two jacks, and then adjust the mic and the gain until they're about right for you. You'll be able to hear it in your headset, and whatever you're hearing in your headset is what your client is also going to be hearing in a headset. Because it's split, there's no individual levels. You're going to get the same as each other. You can also adjust here it's listed as low and high, but it's the treble and bass of your voice. It's equalization. So if you want to make your voice a little bit more bassy or a little bit more treble, you can do that there. Now, if you have uploaded a background track or background tracks into Audacity, you can at this point play them on that, and you can use the line USB here to adjust the volume of that. And pretty much just before your client arrives, take a moment to set it up to make sure that it sounds right for you, and then you can have that ready to go. If you are playing your music via your smartphone or via an MP3 player, what you're going to need to do is to plug it into the line in here via some stereo RCA cables, and on the from button, push that up into line in. That's essentially as complicated as it's going to get in terms of setting this up. It's actually really quite straightforward. But as I said, you will want to set this up before your client arrives, just to make sure that it's all right and ready to go. That would be pretty obvious, but it's worth saying. Now, obviously consider here that Audacity is a multi-track recorder. There's a lot of things that you can do here to really enrich the session with your client. You don't just have to play background music. If you have a client coming in that you know loves the beach and you're planning to perhaps do some Ericksonian style likes induction or process around beach, you could add in sound effects of the beach and be able to export that into a soundscape. You can add binaural beats to the back of that. There's all these different things that you can play around with and explore. If you are planning to use this setup to record your sessions, then make sure that if you are and to record your sessions and to go on to sell, I should add, then make sure that you are getting music that you do have a royalty-free license for. Music is obviously copyrighted, so you don't want to go doing anything that's going to break any copyright laws there. And obviously make sure there's a disclaimer at the start about not listening to it while you're driving or operating any machinery. In fact, you encourage them to find a place where they can just be distraction-free and relax and really benefit from it. The reality is, though, if you're going to plan to record, you probably better plug your microphone straight into the computer and doing that. That's something that we cover in the Recording for Hypnotherapists course. So where am I up to? What next? Good question. Look, if you want to learn more about how you can use your equipment to get the best possible recordings you can get, I do have a third and final for the year Recording for Hypnotherapists workshop on October 22nd at Hypnotherapy HQ here in Melbourne. What you learn in that is how to record, how to edit your mistakes, how to reduce background noise, how to add effects, how to add background music, how to create binaural beats, various hypnotic recording styles, a bit of information about best place to record, a lot of information. I've been really happy with the feedback that I've had over the last 9 workshops from people, saying that it's really content rich. They actually walk away feeling they've learnt a lot that they can really use. And it is for those hypnotherapists out there who do want to learn this stuff, who do want to learn how to be curious and experiment with this and to really have some fun. As part of the price of the ticket, you also get a 100-page soft copy manual. You get demonstration videos. You get discounts on background music. You get access to the Recording for Hypnotherapists workshop Facebook group, which is ongoing support there. And as all documents are updated, you get them as well. So I do like to think that if you pay your price once, that you get that value on and on again. There are early bird tickets available up until October 1st. Tickets are available on Eventbrite, although we'll put a link under this video as well. There is an online version coming soon. I'm not quite sure exactly what format or how that's going to be just yet, but if you are interested, then you can email me and I'll make sure that I update you about that when it happens. Speaking of email, my email again is Lawrence, Lawrence, at releasehypnosis.com.au, and if you email me today, I will send you back a PDF that outlines everything today. So what you need to get, how to put it all together, all that information is all in there. You can also find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course my homepage is www.releasehypnosis.com.au. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line anytime. I do feel like I'm beginning to trip over my words though, so perhaps it's time for me to wrap it up and say thank you for watching today. Let me know how you go with this. I'm really curious to hear about how you might utilize this fun technology to help build better experiences for your clients. And until then, I wish you all the best. Take care.